Hey guys, it's DuVäl, and welcome to A Gentleman's Affair with Sunset Tea. All right, guys, so I wanted to do this video more like a behind the scenes to kind of give you an idea of what we did, what we thought about. You know, I've been trying to film this and trying to make it really cool and really smart, but I think I just wanted to sit and have a conversation. So when we first got notified about being in KIPS Bay, after I finished screaming, which is really what happened, I just got to work to thinking, like, what would I do for the space? We were given actually the secondary bedroom upstairs. And of course, as a bedroom, you know, I can take that design in any kind of direction. But instead of doing that, I wanted to do something that felt just more interesting and more authentic to me, which was a sitting space. You know, with the house this large, there are so many other bedrooms, but if it were really my space, what would I do? And so I wanted somewhere where I could get away, somewhere that felt transportive, something that felt more interesting. And so we came up with this whole idea. You know, when we start designing, I usually am a bit more conceptual in design versus just thinking like A, B, and C. I really try to create a protagonist for a story. You know, who is this room for? Where are they going? And what do they want to do? And so I just kind of wanted to share with you my thoughts about that and how we came up with it. The first thing I thought about was obviously where we are. And we are in the West Palm Beach area, and that Palm Beach style is very much prevalent here. And for those of you who don't know, they really do have this play on this green and pink style and a lot of lattice work. So I didn't want to deviate from that because I am creating a space in this area. So I wanted that to also feel authentic to the space, but I wanted to put our play on it, our spin on it, and to do something that felt a little different. And so, of course, I leaned into the green and the pink colors. We used colors from Benjamin Moore. We'll put those names up because I don't remember what they are, but we worked with this deep forest green. We brought in this pink, which is a bit more of like a blushy salmon. And then we have these marigold, kind of like goldish tones that you'll see throughout. And so this is my version of a play on those standard colors, but in a bit more of an obscure kind of manner. Not only that, obviously you'll see there's a ton of lattice work in here. So instead of doing something that was typical and that I've seen people do, we worked with, I think, fuller architectural panels to make sure that we could create something that felt, again, familiar. You've seen lattice work, but it didn't look like something we've seen before. And so on the ceiling, you'll see that we did this layered plaid effect. For those of you who don't know, I am obsessed with plaid and tartan, and I don't know where that came from. This may be, you know, a reference to my Southern history, or I don't know, but I have this tendency to go toward plaid. But in here, you'll see that we wrapped our beautiful ottomans that we got from Lily in August in this kind of tartan, cotton and tout fabric that has a little bit of a Scottish vibe, actually. But with this, I wanted to do something that felt, again, authentic to me. It felt like it could be found in this Palm Beach area, and it still felt young and fresh, but a timeless approach. With me saying all of those things, you know, another thing that comes to mind is that as we create these immersive spaces, the word paradox really sticks with me. I don't know how I learned that word, but years ago I learned that word and the definition stuck. It says that it is two seemingly contradicting statements that are both still true. And so when we design spaces, that's really how I see things. If you look around, it does feel chaotic and adventurous, but sitting in the space, it still feels solitary and isolated. There's a calmness in the room. You know, of course, we have these bright tones here and there, but there's still a dark and moodiness to it. So it's a bit of a paradox, the play on it being fun and young, but there's still a historic presence here, you know, with the tufting of the paneling and, again, the plaid. There's a play in those two things that I think work really well together. So as we look around the room, I want to show you guys a few of the vendors that we worked with and what we've done with their stuff. The biggest one that we actually use is Lily in August. Obviously, you can see this beautiful banquette that anchors the room. This is custom sized to this space, and as you can see, it fits so perfectly. You guys should have seen us trying to get this up the stairway and into this room. but it fits. And what we wanted it to do is I wanted to make sure that the room felt as big as possible. And by creating a banquette that anchors each of the walls, it almost takes your eye and it pulls you out to each side of the room, making it feel a little bit bigger than it is. We have this beautiful tufting, as you can see. Again, it leans into that timeless, traditional, classic look, while my walls, which are done by Gracie, have been painted to be a little bit more interesting and fun. More on that in a second. All right, so with this custom banquette, we wrapped this fabric. I cannot remember who this fabric is by name, but let me put this up on the screen so that you guys can see this. But you'll see that we skirted this instead of having this as an open leg, and then we did this triple fringe by Samuel & Sons at the base of it. That also introduced some of the same colors that we wanted to see. One of the things that I don't really talk about when I think about design is I generally have I don't want to say a formula, but a baseline in how we design. I usually work with 3 main colors, and then we kind of build from that so that there is some similarity and familiarity with the room, but it doesn't feel too stale, it doesn't feel sterile, and it doesn't feel too matchy-matchy, which I'm not really, even though I'm in all black and black and black and black, not really a matchy-matchy person. So, as I talked about earlier, the green, the blush, and the marigold, we pulled this color, which is not quite a green, and I don't know how it shows up on camera. It's actually a pale, dusty blue that has a green baseline to it, so it almost feels like a teal. We wanted to use this, and we pulled that from the idea of a version of green. The same with this dark maroon. It's almost like a wine color. We pulled this out as if it were a deeper version of the blush, and then throughout you'll see our gold tones. Again, that works with our gold. Not sure why I'm sharing it with you guys, but that's kind of a version of how we design and where these colors come from. And so you'll see I did the same thing with this triple fringe. This is actually a tealish blue instead of the green, gold, and blush. It's more of a teal, a gold, and the maroon. So again, we worked through those 3 main baseline colors that we used. Also with Lily and August, you're gonna have these beautiful, I think these are 42-inch shagreen tables. These are our opera tables that obviously just ground the room. I wanted to create a little bit of symmetry in this area just because the walls, again, can be so chaotic. The beautiful design gives us so much adventure. The room felt like it needed to be grounded. What I didn't really talk about before was, even though through the title, there is this play on the love of tea. And so I found this beautiful tea set in one of the antique stores in Antique Row. Casablanca has loaned this beautiful coral to, again, give us a reference back to where we are. And then, of course, we brought in some local floral arrangements by Belgian Florals that you can see here. Another one of the features in this room are our ottomans. One of the things I did want to point out is that you will see the same maroon, like Merlot style color. It's peeking through the pleats that you'll see at the base of the ottomans. That was another little reference and a nod for us carrying that same color throughout the room. So this is one of those design details that I feel like sometimes people can forget. When you see colors that are introduced, it is often, for us, a very good opportunity to reintroduce that somewhere else so the room feels cohesive. Having a single color in a room often feels like it can either be left to the side, it wasn't really intentional. So for us, we tried to just introduce all the colors throughout. Another one of the big features in this room, obviously, is our pocketed bar. Of course, we told you guys that we had a secondary bedroom, and instead of doing a bedroom, I wanted to do the sitting area, and so I didn't want a closet in here. So we removed the doors, we added our ladder-style panels on the sides and the top, and then we pulled everything out and put in this dry bar. In the center of the dry bars, obviously, our beautiful Gin Air Noir Collection wine cooler. And then we flanked this on both sides by an awesome installer with In-Vogue Woodworks, this custom-made cabinetry. Our goal was to have something that looked like an inset flat panel face instead of it having some type of detail. And then the beading around is done in our baseline gold. The handles and the hardware on this gives us a little bit of a nod to that Palm Beach bamboo style feel without it feeling too over the top. The stone by Prime Stones is obviously one of the ones that we saw in their showroom that just really caught my eye. One of the things that I loved about it, obviously the movement, the color details, so many different features, was the fact that there was a play on the blue that we have inside of our banquette. So it's almost like we reintroduced that from one side to the other without it feeling like it was too matchy-matchy. Instead of just doing the countertop, we lined the backside to be our backsplash, and then you'll see a 6-inch ledge all the way across. I don't know if you can see this in the camera, but you'll be able to see the backsplash and the ledge on the backside as well as the sides to give it just a little bit more of an interest. Above that, we actually put in this textured wallpaper on the back. The color is actually a deep brown mocha that I felt like we were seeing inside of the wallpaper that I didn't find anywhere else into the room. So we wanted to reintroduce that on the back side, give it a little bit of texture so that the light can play on it. And then we lined the walls with our wine bottle holders. The Aldi's wine has been provided to us by Kugini Winery. Thank you so much for this. And then the other feature that we wanted to show that you might not notice right away is that we actually have the back of the return walls lined with strip lighting so that actually can light the entire bar up. So that's one of those features that you may not really pay attention to, but something that we really knew we wanted to do. Talking about lighting, I do kind of want to walk you around the room with what you might see and what you may notice. I am a huge proponent of having tons of light sources, not only because they can be beautiful and they can give structure to the space, but they also, and of course, a lot of lighting, but it gives you the option to control the mood, what you want it to feel like versus, just one headlight. And so what you'll see is that we have all of our lighting sponsored by Curry & Co. Thank you so much. And you'll start with the entry light. We have this beautiful hemp style entry light that gives us a little bit of shape to the entry of the room. And then you'll have a second flush mount light inside the bar that gives us just a little bit of structure there as well. Moving into the room, you're going to see these 2 chandeliers that, again, we reintroduced that hemp style feel. And then we brought in 2 sconces. Instead of doing hemp here, I wanted this to feel a little more classic. So we have these column style effects that almost looks like, it's a play on that fluted style columns that's very traditional, timeless, and classic, that it was a juxtaposition against the hemp that can feel a little bit more casual. On the ends, you're going to see us have 2 table lamps. I did not want to make these match because I felt like I had enough symmetry with banquettes, with the tables, the pillows. So we wanted to do something that felt a little different. On the entry, I wanted this dome style effect to give it a little bit more weight. And then near the window, I did not want that to detract from the window and the shade. And so we did something that had a little bit more height, but again, brought back into more casual tone with the rattan style. Inside the windows, we obviously have done a simple window fixture by the Shade Store. We went with something that I didn't want to overdress the window. One of the things I was really cautious about is that the wallpaper really is a star to the show. And so what I wanted to do is just have a play on something that felt like the room. It felt like it was a nod to the space. It was casual, yet it was still sophisticated. And we wanted to play with that natural style material that you'll find here in the West Palm Beach area. We lined it on the sides with this olive green linen tape to just give it a little bit more structure so it didn't feel so basic, pretty much. Other than that, some of the things that you'll see around the room that we have are these beautiful pillows that were done by Inspirational Draperies back in the DC metro area. This is actually our upholsterer. And so what you're going to see is I have these beautiful fabrics that were provided to us by Cowden & Tout. We also have some by Fabricut. We have some very different deep plush tones as well as the fabrics that have a very good texture to it. So it feels a lot more lush and luxurious than you would think you would see in most kind of beachy areas. Another thing that we found that we wanted to have were these beautiful end tables from Palm Beach Home Style. These are a set of 4. And so what we did instead, these are actually table trays. These are actually not end tables. They're not side tables. They're table trays, like TV eating trays. But I wanted to use those because I love that bamboo effect. It gives us a nod back to that traditional Palm Beach style. And it felt authentic. It felt traditional, but it still had a young way and a young use and implementation of it instead of just a simple end table. Last but not least, I think if I did not speak about this already, is the hand-painted Gracie wallpaper. This is probably the star of the show. Other than me, it's the star of the show. And what we did with this is a custom hand-painted wallpaper that was done by them, and we were able to give them an idea of what we wanted. The goal was to do an ombre style effect. Again, the title of this whole room is called A Gentleman's Affair with Sunset Tea. And so we wanted to create this sunset style effect on the back wall. And then as you go back toward the entranceway, it just darkens. And so you won't see it here, but you will see as the room starts to darken, you'll see the little sparkling stars are starting to come out. The same colors that we use throughout the room, the green, the Sammy blushy look, and that marigold yellow that we use is actually the 3 tones that they put inside this beautiful, beautiful wallpaper that we had hung. And so I think that other than that, I talked about the lattice work, right? I talked about the flooring. I talked about all the beautiful furniture that we were granted. And this gives you guys an idea of what we did with the space. Obviously, there was probably much more thought about this than I'm sharing with you guys. Obviously, these little details that we have to go into with the stripes and why we chose this fabric, why we chose the tea set and these beautiful floral arrangements. But I think that's it for now. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey, and a huge thanks to KIPS Bay for allowing me to be a part of this. And of course, thank you to all of our sponsors for whom we would not be able to have put this room together without you guys. There was no possible way. So for now, guys, I think it's my turn to go get some tea. I'm going to enjoy the sunset, and I'll see you guys next time.